The playoffs have finally started, which means we have our immediate after buzzer reaction available here. Finally, now I know what you're thinking. This immediate after buzzer reaction sure feels like an hour and a half after the game ended. Yeah, I messed that up. Okay, you got me. But with that in mind, we're going to be shooting a very high volume over on this channel. There's going to be a lot of after buzzer reactions that'll hopefully be closer to actually after the buzzer. And we are going to be ranking every single game of this year's playoffs off of watchability, and then eventually taking that data and turning it into a ranking every series in watchability. So stick to that in the end. I forgot to mention it halfway through, but I grade both the games I talk about in this video. Hello everybody, welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're trying to hit 20k subscribers, so it would be much appreciated. Also drop a like so it does better in the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, the Clippers versus Nuggets game. This was the best game of the playoffs so far, which obviously it's been 2 fucking games, so who really cares? What does that mean, really? But I would not be surprised at all if this ends up being one of the better games, because we got a hell of a show from both sides here. It really seemed like the Clippers had this game. They were definitely in the driver's seat for a large majority of it, and that was thanks primarily to James Harden and Kawhi Leonard just being absolutely fucking awesome, and Zubats being awesome. A lot of that was because Nikola Jokic did not do a very good job defending Zubats out of the pick and roll, or at least for certain stretches of it. It got better as the game went along, and I don't even necessarily mean in a way that impacted Zoo's scoring numbers, but the 2 assists that Zubats got in this game, both of them were from back-to-back plays in the first quarter where Jokic just stepped up too high on the screen. Harden found Zoo, and then Zoo found a cutting Chris Dunn, which is a great way to counteract the spacing issues that are associated with playing someone like Chris, who was great in this game. He went 2 for 5 from outside. As I mentioned, Harden was good. Did have foul trouble, but managed to avoid it. Actually fouling out, that is. Finished with 32 points and 11 assists. Ivica Zubats with 21-13. 6 offensive rebounds and some really impactful defense on Nikola Jokic early on in the game. And Kawhi Leonard, 22 points, 7 turnovers. I didn't realize he had fucking 7 turnovers. That's higher than I would have guessed. But he had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals as well. And he did a lot of his scoring basically as soon as James Harden was off of the floor. But when James Harden was there, he was running the show. And I must admit, it was quite an experience seeing James Harden play the way that he did in this game, because he was clutch as fuck. Like, to send it into overtime, he hit a floater that bounced in, and he hit a 3 in overtime very late in the game that was a difficult ass 3. Didn't end up mattering because that made it a 1-point game. Then Aaron hit the free throws. Then they didn't get the next shot to go in. But that 3 itself, super duper clutch out of James Harden. Excellent performance from him across the board. No complaints. Excellent stuff from him. Basically, everybody, the starting lineup, out of the starting lineup, Norman Powell was definitely a little bit disappointing with 12 points on 12 shots, but nothing to complain about. Fourth quarter screaming, why the fuck Batum in? Well, it's because he's a really good 3-and-D player. That's why Batum is in. He hit 2 3-pointers in this fourth quarter, one of which was like a heavily contested, like damn near fading one over Christian Brown, so that was a big shot. And yeah, the Clippers were good for most of it, but they kind of collapsed towards the end of the fourth quarter because while they held a grip on the rebounding the whole way through, they kind of lost it as the game went along. They lost the plot, as it were. There were so many offensive rebounds from the Denver Nuggets that they just had so many more possessions to close. They missed a shitload of shots, but it didn't end up mattering. Jokic was Jokic. There's not much more to say than that. He did not have the most efficient game that he's capable of having, but he still shot 50%. 24 shots for 29 points is more than Jokic usually needs, but it ain't bad. Aaron Gordon with 25 points. He was great the whole game, especially getting to the free throw line. I don't know if also Jokic was 1 rebound shy of the triple-double. Neglected to mention that. Christian Brown was good. The only 3-pointer that he hit of the entire game was a super clutch one in overtime. Jamal Murray was weird. Kind of hard to evaluate Jamal Murray in this performance because there were large stretches of the game where he was absolutely booty butt cheeks, and there were large stretches where he was pretty good. First 2 buckets of the game from him, I was like, wow, playoff Jamal Murray might be right back in this full swing here. But no, then he kind of just missed the next 8 shots. But then he hit a really big pull-up 3 in the fourth quarter. I think he hit another one in overtime. So he picked up the play, but the standout player, for better and worse, in this game was Russell Westbrook. Let me read you Russell Westbrook's stat line because it's a crazy one. 15 points, 2 steals, 1 turnover, 3 fouls, 3 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 of them offensive rebounds, 5 for 17 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. All of those threes, and I think one of them wasn't, but all but one of those three-pointers was wide open catch-and-shoot threes out of the corner, and he hit a very, very, very big one in that fourth quarter. And as they were highlighting on the broadcast repeatedly, Russell Westbrook this year shoots 40% on wide open catch and shoot corner threes. It's a very favorable situation, but the thing is, Russell Westbrook's shooting reputation is what it is, so he's actually going to get access to wide open catch and shoot corner threes consistently. Now, whether or not that percentage will hold up under the scrutiny of the playoffs is something different, but considering one of the threes that he missed was above the break, the rest of them not. He made 2, missed 3. Guess what? That's 40%. And he also had, like, at the end of the fourth, he just threw the ball off of James Harden in an attempt to save it when Aaron Gordon was wide open for a pass, so the game could have just ended then. But then he also made good plays in that overtime. In fact, maybe it was the Russ 3. No, that's the thing that he did in overtime. He also defended the inbound perfectly and knocked the ball off of James Harden's hands, setting the ball out of bounds. So, yeah, Russell Westbrook definitely more good than bad in this one, but my God, the tonal whiplash going back and forth between, oh my God, Russ, to oh my God, Russ, to oh my God, Russ, to oh my fucking God, Russ, over and over and over again. He ended up coming out on top, but it could have been a complete experience if just 1 or 2 plays were negative rather than positive. But he did what he had to do. The Nuggets won this game. I was pretty much all but certain that the Clippers had this game in the bag basically halfway through the fourth quarter because they were the team controlling things. They were the team that dictated the pace. Denver was doing good, all things considered, but they were only really staying in it. They weren't getting anywhere near taking a lead. But then in that fourth quarter, the offensive rebounds and just general clutch play, even through all the chaos, was excellent. I also want to highlight the Denver Nuggets and Los Angeles Clippers are some of the best offenses in the NBA over the last 20-so games. The Clippers are actually the number 1 offense the last 20 games of the year. Denver obviously has Jokic, which automatically makes them an all-time great defense just the moment he's on the floor. And even with that, 110 to 112 is not a high score for an overtime NBA game. So, a lot of defense in this one, a lot of physicality, but also a shitload of offensive prowess. I think this series might be the best one in round 1. There is a real chance that that is the case because this is a team. These are 2 teams that are loaded with talent. There's a bunch of fun players here who do a lot of cool shit. Aaron Gordon got like 3 or 4 awesome dunks in this one, which you love to see. I just now realized how bad Michael Porter Jr. was and how little he played, but that's another point. There's just so much good stuff happening here. And this Clippers team, dude, I love this Clippers team. I like this Clippers team. The only other Clippers team that I like more than this one is the Lob City Clippers in like 2015, right? Around there. 2014-ish, whatever. When they got J.J. Redick, after that, I liked them a lot. That Lob City team, I do like more than this one. But other than that, any team in the Kawhi Leonard era, I love this team. I never really loved any team in that era. So I really am rooting for them. Kind of a weird disposition because I'm rooting for the Clippers because I like them so much. And it's also fun to root for the Clippers because talk about a fucking underdog. They're literally understudies to the Los Angeles Lakers. But the Denver Nuggets were also the team that captured my heart in 2023, so I don't like seeing them lose. So, like, I felt good seeing this go this way, but I also want the Clippers to win. But the fact this game was as good as it was, as close as it was, on Denver's home floor, I still think the Clippers have this series. And I do think that Denver is just not they're not as well-rounded of a team. It is too heavily determined by just Jokic. And if James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are going to play like they did in today's game the whole way through, they're going to win the series. The fact that they lost this game while playing as well as they did, if anything, should be a positive sign for the Nuggets that they can withstand that and still get the dub. But I don't think you're going to be able to withstand that and get the dub more often than not. So that was that game. Let me real quick just touch on the first playoff game of 2025, the Pacers versus the Bucks. This game kind of went the way that it did, that I expected it to. I did a series preview for this over on this channel on Thursday, or maybe I think it was Thursday that it came out. Yeah. Basically, the synopsis of this series is one guy doing everything he can versus a team that is actually well-rounded. And when you look at the distribution of scoring, you look at the distribution of field goal attempts, there are 4 players on this team that got anywhere from 12 to 15 field goal attempts, while Gary Trent Jr. and A.J. Green each got 11 and 13. Only Ryan Rollins and Bobby Portis after that got 8. And then it's 23 from Giannis. 23 out of 84 shots were from Giannis, and he was also setting his teammates up a bunch. They were not hitting their fucking shots, and also credit to them, the Pacers did a really good job of playing the passing lane because they obviously like to get out in transition, so they forced a good amount of turnovers. They also crushed the Bucks on transition points in general, but there's just not enough here, and I don't think in the NBA as it is now, a series like this is winnable for Giannis. I just don't think that's what the meta of basketball is right now, to just say, hey, we have the best player in the series, so we have a chance. I guess it's not wrong to say that the Bucks have a chance. They do have a chance, but you can't say anything much nicer than just they have a chance, and that's not high praise by any means. So, yeah, I think this series is probably going to go similar to this most of the way through. It would help if Milwaukee's shooters, who are normally pretty good, shot the ball better. Ryan Rollins 1 for 4, Kevin Porter 0 for 2, Bobby Portis 0 for 4, Gary Trent Jr. 2 for 7. But A.J. Green was 5 for 11. Gary Trent's usually good to be a good three-point shooter. Taurean Prince only played 20 minutes, but he missed the only open 3 that he got. So there is enough shooting here that I think if I were the Bucks, I would try to go small, because Brook Lopez only played 20 minutes because of his inability to keep up with the pace of the Indiana Pacers. I think you go Giannis at the center position, Bobby Portis at the 4, and get AJ Green and Gary Trent more minutes. Like, I don't understand why Kevin Porter Jr. is getting more minutes than those guys. I do recognize that he has more on-ball creation ability. In fact, he's basically the only guy who really does. Gary Trent Jr. has a little bit himself. That's why he managed to get 14 points in this one, despite the 2 for 7 shooting from outside. But I would just go all shooting. I would say space, pace, match what the Indiana Pacers do, and hope that because you have a superstar leading the charge in doing that, you can do it better. But I'm willing to bet regardless of what you do, there's really no strategy that is going to get the Bucks a win here in this series. Not a win, but winning the series in general. Unless Damian Lillard comes back and he's just that dude immediately. And I'm willing to bet that's not going to happen. Even if he does come back, what are the odds that he's going to play at an all-star high level, fresh off of how long away from basketball? Over a month, jumping right into play-in or playoff intensity with a bunch of dudes who are in perfect shape? No, I don't think that's going to help them. It might help them. It's not going to save them. So, yeah, I think this is probably going to be a relatively boring series, unfortunately, which is why you did not get an immediate after the buzzer reaction. So for the Clippers and Nuggets game, I don't think I can quite say it was an all-timer. I want to be really strict with that category. Like, it was a great game, but it was not one that I think I'll remember forever. So I'll give them an A, but it's like really high up on the board in terms of the A tier. And then for the Pacers-Bucks game, I think I want to go with a D tier. There was some good stuff in there, not unwatchable. The Pacers have some fun offense, but I don't like watching a dude push a boulder up a hill that's never going to actually, the hill that's never going to end. I keep using that metaphor too much, but I don't care. It's a good one. Giannis is not going to be able to do this on his own. Superstars doing it on their own, that's a thing of the past, I think, at least to the extent in which you would have to in this series. And I think the fact that the second best player in the league alone cannot beat a 4-seeded team that didn't even win 50 games in the East, that isn't enough. If that against that competition it can't happen, I think we got to stop using that standard across the board, period. But yeah, that is it. Thanks to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.